Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Stripe Developer Office Hours, and we're coming from you from the exhibition floor here at Stripe Sessions. And I'm so excited about this conversation because I have my friends here from ThisDot Labs who are going to talk to me about like some of the cool things that they're doing, and we also talk about some of the exciting things that they've been seeing here at Stripe Sessions. So before we get into that, why don't we just kind of do a quick round of introductions? Rob, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do?
Yeah, hi, my name is Rob Osell. I'm a VP of Innovation at ThisDot Labs. Very excited to be at my first sessions here. We've been working with Stripe for 5 years, primarily working on Stripe apps and Stripe Connect platforms. And so it's just been really cool to get a chance to be here.
Nice. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit jealous, right? Because I'm still working to get that VP in front of my title, but I'm going to get there. I'm chasing you a little bit. I'm going to get there, though. I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
Danny, my friend, tell me, who are you?
Yeah, I'm Danny Thompson. I'm Director of Technology at ThisDot Labs, and happy to be here. I'm extra happy now, more than I was 5 minutes ago, because we have on record that we are friends, and so I'm really, really happy about that.
No doubt.
But to be honest, I'm really shocked at how impressive the conversations have been here at Stripe Sessions. We've met a lot of interesting individuals,
For sure.
from some college students to founders of organizations that are like tackling some really interesting problems. I think that goes part of where we're at, right? Like San Francisco,
right?
Really great tech hub for a lot of tech innovation, but some of the approaches have been pretty incredible. And so really happy that we're here representing Stripe apps, obviously, and talking about some of the things that we've done in that area, but also in regards to AI. So
I'll add to that. Shout out to UC Davis. Who's just representing. We've met some impressive students at UC Davis out here, representing, networking, getting to know people, asking great questions.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the future's bright right now. Yeah.
And even themselves, like they're tackling, or they're trying to attempt to tackle some really interesting use cases using Stripe. So I think that's pretty cool.
You know, one of the things that I find interesting is I think the culture in this environment, particularly in San Francisco, is just a little bit different.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm coming from South Florida, right? And then we have a vibrant culture when it comes to folks just hustling and just trying to get things done. When it comes to technology, when it comes to people founding companies, when it comes to people, like you said, you had students and tons of different types of folks here. Like the energy is just different. So when you're here at Stripe Sessions, the collaborative energy that you kind of find, you know what I mean? It's just so addictive. It kind of makes you want to be a founder yourself, right?
Dude, I can't even. Let me calm down. I can't even try to lie. It's very interesting to see the passion that people are bringing to some of this, especially because we're proud to be sponsors. We're at a booth, so you wouldn't really expect passionate conversations, and then you ask them one simple thing, and next thing you know, it's a sidebar for 15 minutes,
and they're going for it.
It's very incredible. I love it. I'm really enjoying today, and it's funny because we just flew in yesterday, and my body was dragging. I'm from Dallas, and so the airline is hitting me right now.
I can imagine.
The conversations are really cool.
It is.
And Stripe's a big ecosystem and a big umbrella. So again, we do a lot with the Connect platform, Stripe apps. So we know the Stripe people that are involved in that stuff. We know a lot of the companies and the other people that build apps, prominent apps in the App Store. So we knew them. But again, you come here and you just realize the true scale of everything that's involved in Stripe. And I think that's really what's staggering. You sit in the keynotes and you go, okay, these are the new announcements and the thing that you're most focused in. And you're like, oh, that's amazing. And then they go to something else and a different set of people cheer and a different set of people cheer. And you go around and you talk. And again, sometimes you do get this feeling at conferences where it feels very transactional, very, kind of mercantile in that way, right? This idea that people are kind of coming up, they know you're selling something, they're selling something. But around here, there's a deep curiosity.
Yeah.
People are like, listen, I want to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I want you to know what I'm doing. And then at the end, we'll figure out if there's any way for us to help each other. If there is, that's great. If there isn't, hey, at least I know a little bit of something, and maybe I'll remember it later when I talk to somebody else. So it's been really good on the floor, very productive.
And I'm glad you say that because I want to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about ThisDot Labs. Like, we've worked together for a little bit. I know your company. I'm familiar with what you guys do. But for our folks that are watching, why don't you give us a little bit of insight to some of the services and some of the things that the company does?
Yeah, so ThisDot Labs, we're a software and product consultancy first and foremost. So we do all sorts of things for all sorts of people. But in the Stripe ecosystem, we've been really happy to be a part of the Stripe apps ecosystem since the very beginnings.
Sure.
So we've been the developers of a number of successful apps in the marketplace. The one that we manage ourselves and operate is Data Mapper for MailChimp. So that's a connector that brings Stripe and MailChimp together, brings over not only your customers into your advertising into your advertising audiences inside of MailChimp, but also brings your e-commerce data, which powers a lot of really cool automations, which I think we're going to probably talk about in a little bit.
Nice.
But we also help other partners build things. So we work with DocuSign to help maintain their app. We've worked with other partners as well to help them get to access to Stripe's customers and also their own customers on Stripe's platform and really do those kind of integrations.
Nice. And you all are a certified Stripe partner, right? It's not like you're just, a set of folks.
That's right.
You're certified specifically to work with Stripe data and build these applications.
That's right. We're a verified Stripe partner in both Connect and in apps. So
nice.
Our services and apps. And so, we're really proud to be working in the Stripe umbrella, working alongside Stripe. Like I said, it's a big ecosystem.
For sure.
And they're tackling some of the most important problems with some of the most important clients on those topics. So it's an honor to be a part of it.
So talking about Stripe apps a little bit, because you mentioned before, like you've built a couple of those things and you are certified verified to build those. What are some of the companies that you've worked with, some of the type of apps that you've built inside of the marketplace?
Yeah, so again, some of the most prominent ones we did is MailChimp and DocuSign as these as well. But we've worked on some other ones as well, things like Intercom in the past, Google Drive as well. That's another one that we operate. Because again, the fun thing about Stripe apps is like people have a lot of different things, these little tiny friction points in the ways that systems work together.
Right.
And like one of the ones that I love that we solved with the Google apps and the Google Drive integration was just how many people run reports at the end of every month, and then they have to download as a CSV and then go into Google Drive or into Sheets and import it and then deal with all of that. What if you could just do it directly?
Right.
And like what I loved about it is that's something that my wife does every month for her job.
Yeah.
And so I've never been more proud to be like, okay, I finally made something you can use.
Nice.
You need to use this app.
She's like, oh, that's what you do at work all day. I get
exactly.
it. I understand.
She was finally something useful. Yeah, exactly.
Nice. That's awesome. As a company that builds so many types of apps, I'm kind of curious to hear like what's your experience been like do you like what kind of opportunities do you see in that space? What are some of the enhancements or patterns or how do you feel about as you're building these apps for your different customers?
I mean, if this is to try and excite anybody to build apps, it's terrible. Don't do it. The documentation is horrible. No, honestly, it's great. It was funny because I came into ThisDot Labs. Previously, I was at AutoZone. I was over AutoZone.com and AutoZonePro.com as far as e-commerce. And when I came to Stripe apps, I was completely brand new. And I was kind of intimidated because I was like, as we talked about, I was like, this seems like a very large undertaking, but I wanted to experience it since we do so much in it. As I dug deep, very easy to adapt quite a few of the practices.
Nice.
There's some things that you have to adjust your logic around, but the documentation is so well done that even just following it, you can build something really incredible in a short period of time. Nice. So I built several apps, and then I decided to start sharing some of the findings that I had. I even created like a blog article on it, on building like a QR code generation app, just as a proof of concept so you can get used to the different areas within it. But honestly, really easy to follow. And to be honest, I think it's a testament to the team because not only is the documentation really well thought out, I feel like when you guys are rolling something out, you are doing it in a well thought out way from a developer perspective.
Sure.
So for developer teams, if you haven't implemented it or tried it out yet, highly recommend giving it a whirl. If you need help, I'm a DM away. But
sure.
Realistically speaking, you should theoretically be able to kind of get up and running in a very short period of time as soon as you wrap your mind around the way that things are being integrated. So it does, if you're a React developer, for example, you could use a lot of the React syntax, but there are certain things that you're going to need to tie in as far as like components and using Stripe's ecosystem within it to kind of make it work, but it's not a big learning curve at all.
Sure. Yeah. I would say too that like a lot of the apps that are on the marketplace are solving a core problem, which is just that right now, when you do business, we use more systems to run a business nowadays than ever before. Yeah. And our data is in so many different systems, and it's very difficult to keep it in sync. So I think a lot of the apps on the App Store, and there's still a lot of opportunities here, is to connect Stripe with some other tool that a lot of companies are using. And that's just a problem that a bunch of people have, and people are willing to possibly even pay for through the Stripe app marketplace. The other opportunity that I think is also a little bit underserved is just productivity enhancements inside of Stripe itself. I mean, I've been somewhat shocked to the relative lack of tools that are just there for people that are in the dashboard that just want additional insights. Like especially with AI being as popular as it is, I think there's still tons of room for people to innovate and find creative ways to give people an extra panel or an extra view on certain pages inside of Stripe to get those kind of deeper insights to add to what they're trying to do on the site. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, there must be so many apps and there's nothing left to think about, I just think there's entire rocks that haven't been turned over yet.
For sure.
As far as ways that you can give people a better experience inside of Stripe. And I think you'll find that if you're actually delivering value to people, people are willing to install it, use it, and pay for it as well.
And you know, he said one big thing here, and this is what I was explaining to somebody because they said they didn't necessarily see the value in trying to build a Stripe app. And I said, think about one big thing here. When you're building an app, let's say for the Apple App Store or Google Play Store, something along those lines, the majority, not all, but a big majority of the customers are trying to watch an ad to get a free heart in a game and continue that freemium model. Think about the type of consumer that's going to be consuming and utilizing that Stripe app. They're not trying to watch an ad to get a heart in a game. They're building something that has some tie into the bottom line of their business. The lifespan of that customer is going to be significantly longer and larger and more impactful down the road. To miss that base, I feel like, is a huge miss. And if you're not thinking about it in one way, shape, or form, you really are missing the mark. I'm getting off my soapbox.
You're starting to get emotional about it now. That's what's going on right now.
But I really feel like it's a big miss for a lot of people right now.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I want to make sure that we do is properly educate people about like the opportunities that you're speaking about. Because kind of like you said, I think there's a lot of things that can happen here. But from customers, I hear a lot of questions like, well, what do I do with it? And what do I put in the dashboard? Like, what can I build? Like, what are some of the things that people are asking for? So as folks that have built a lot of apps, a lot of successful apps in the marketplace, it's really important for me to get your perspective as to, what are some of the other opportunities for, apps, for plugins, for extensions that you think folks can start working on?
Yeah, I mean, again, anything that can connect systems. I think, one of the things that we haven't talked about is just the power of apps. So apps have a couple different viewports.
Sure.
The first and the most primary of which is inside of the dashboard. This is the most common one. So this is what we were just talking about, right? Like, I think the untapped opportunity there is a lot of productivity tooling for people that are using Stripe Dashboard. I think there's a lot of power there left to be found. But the other viewport for these Stripe apps is in the embedded context, so in Connect platforms. We've just been staggered by the amount of people who use Stripe, but maybe don't even realize that they use Stripe because they're using a platform that was built on top of Stripe primitives, the Connect platform. And I think eventually that will be a great place for apps to really surface. So in that case, you're not even just thinking about what do Stripe users want, but you could imagine, what do Etsy users want, or what do, any type of marketplace type of app want. And so you even unlock problems and problem spaces unique to each of those Connect platforms in the future. And so that's definitely another thing to keep an eye on, is to remember that so much of commerce on the web runs on Stripe. Again, even if people don't realize that it is. There's a much larger addressable market than people think. And so again, maybe those spaces as well. Think about the types of things that people might want inside of other systems built on top of Stripe. Because they're getting from Stripe the sort of the financial pieces. So that's what's kind of coming with those Connect platforms. But you need to bring other things in, right? So like, hey, if they're bringing in that financial piece, maybe they also need a tax piece. Maybe they also need an HR piece. Maybe they also need something else. And so when you're thinking about augmenting all the tools that Stripe's already bringing to the table and adding now to that pantheon, if you're a company or a SaaS product that's has those types of offerings that's suddenly licking their lips thinking about that, again, let us know, or investigating yourself.
For sure.
And I think there's opportunities to really find a lot of customers out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there is. And it's one problem. This is a Stripe problem, to be honest. Y'all do so much good that it's hard to distinguish what the new thing is because there's so much out there. Like, one thing that I've been diving into lately that y'all executed at such a high level, in my opinion, you actually not only jumped in the AI space, you did it so well that it's hard to discredit or not recognize it. A lot of them, you can see, have implemented some solutions right now that are half-baked, but they just want to be able to say that they were part of it. I feel like your MCP solution is phenomenal. And I think if anyone is within the world of AI or wants to dip into it, highly recommend checking that out. It's so easy to get exactly what you need out of it. And if you're watching this, you don't know what MCP is, think of it like the USB-C of AI, meaning it fits pretty much anything. You could use it and ascertain whatever you need out of it. It's specifically baked up for whatever it is that you're looking for. It's a good fit, but y'all execute at a very high level, and the documentation supporting is fantastic.
Yeah, I think the developer AI team that we have has done a great job, right? Because like you mentioned, there's the MCP server, there's our agent toolkit. We have support for LLMs.txt for that support, which is great too. Our VS Code extension. Like there's so many great things there. But I think the bigger story now is like, how do we plug these things together? So thinking about what the dashboard experience is, and then how can we enhance that with Stripe apps? And then how can we enhance our Stripe apps with some of that MCP stuff that we talked about, some of those agentic frameworks that we talked about. Again, to give people really make the dashboard like mission control. Right? And I'm going to go in and I'm going to install some apps, and I have all the puzzle pieces put together to kind of create the business that I need.
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, I need loyalty points. Click, click, click. I got a Stripe app for that. I need something to handle taxes and reporting. I got a Stripe app for that, right? But then now I can just be in one place. Yeah. I don't have to have multiple windows open. I don't have to context switch across different places, right? Like I can kind of see a view of what my business is from a financial perspective, from a loyalty points perspective, whatever, in a single place, right? And I think for a lot of folks, that's where a lot of the opportunity is, right? Like, how can we create value in that consolidated space?
Well, to be honest with you, I had a conversation here last night after the keynote. I was talking to the CEO of a company, and he said, Danny, this whole AI thing, I don't really know what to make of it. And he was kind of going off about how, look, I bought everybody in my company Copilot. I'm now spending like $150,000 a year in fees, and I saw a 0% increase in productivity. I've created a new bill where I didn't have one. That's 6 figures. What am I doing? And I think that comes down to one big thing here. What I believe is we're in like what I call the AI forgiveness bubble.
Sure.
And essentially the idea is, if you don't know something right now, I'm trying to figure it out too, man. Like we're all trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But in like a year from now, do you think that conversation is going to stay the same?
Definitely not.
And so all these tools that are coming out, if you're not at the very least experimenting with it to understand and learn what the quote unquote best practice could even be, how are you going to leverage this tool?
Yeah.
But the bigger thing is, you can't just throw an AI tool at your team, like figure it out.
Sure.
Because they're going to find the quickest Band-Aid to get you off your back and then just continue. So in his use case, I said, one of the best things you could do is start implementing best practices on the team.
Sure.
Because if you haven't created an incentive for them to learn it, why would they?
Yeah.
That's one. Number two, if you have Stripe's MCP server, why would they experiment with it unless you create that use case until you start implementing that practice?
Yeah.
So I think some of the onus is on the owners, some of the onus is on the founders, some of the onus is on the directors and VPs to kind of trickle down the incentive to the teams to be like, hey, this is the direction that we're going in.
Yeah.
But you need to kind of maintain both, but you need to take charge a little bit because this is all uncharted territory.
For sure.
And until there's that push, no one's going to learn it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think there's a little bit of a chicken and the egg situation there. Because, so that person you spoke to, he's probably like, yeah, I don't really know what to do with this, but then still someone needs to have the standards. And I kind of look at that as, with my engineering brain as, this is the same way as implementing any other technology in your company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we all have coding standards, we all have protocols, we all have rules and regulations that we have to follow. So regardless if we're bringing new things in, there's still a process.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we can apply those same processes to AI, right? Just because we don't know what it is doesn't mean that we can't, you know what I mean? Again, put those building blocks in place to make sure that we handle it the right way.
100%. And to be honest, I mean, we're even getting clients now that are coming to us saying, can you help train our teams on AI, show the best practices?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I drink the Kool-Aid, I drink all the hype, I believe it. I've just seen so many incredible things come from it. I mean, prime example, 48 hours ago, Windsurf got picked up for what, $3 billion?
Yeah.
It's 30 people on a team. What does that even come out to? Like 10, what is that?
It comes out to a lot of money.
Yeah.
It comes out to a lot of money.
And I was like, we don't need to count the number of zeros. Duo just know it's a lot per engineer.
It's a lot.
But it just showcases what is capable. And some people are afraid like, oh, it's going to be a headcount turn down. I'm looking at it from a completely different example of, what if I could keep my same headcount of 100 engineers, but get the output of 150 without destroying the developer experience in the process? Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, and I love that you said that because a previous conversation we had on one of these interviews was, I look at that AI space, I look at all these MCP things as, you're not to reuse a word, but you're my co-pilot, right? Like you're my peer programmer. And so the things that I might have in my head and I have an idea might take me an hour, 2 hours to do. But if I can have the idea, my co-pilot, my partner can execute that thing in 5 minutes versus 2 hours, that's fantastic. Because that keeps me in the creative space. right? I don't have to context switch to be like, oh, I think this will be cool, and then switch over and then come back, and then you kind of look at it and you turn it sideways, and I'm like, okay, let me change this. Now we're talking about 4 hours, and we're talking about 10 hours, we're talking about a week.
Yeah.
Instead, I could just like, okay, let me vibe code through it, right? Like, let me kind of iterate through it in my head and very quickly execute on the idea. So I think for us, it gives us the opportunity to stay in that creative space a little bit longer and see some of those ideas we had like just kind of come to life.
Well, I'll tell you this, even one cool thing about AI in general, I had a task recently where it was jumping on Python and Django, and I said, hold on now, I ain't touched Python in 7 years. I don't have a clue what the syntax looks like.
Sure.
AI, I still executed that task in the same time frame. It goes from being very syntactically focused to I'm more problem-solving focused. We'll figure out the syntax. We'll iterate. Or in John Collison's problem, have my confetti go in the wrong direction. If he iterated one more time, I'm sure he could have got it right.
Sure.
But how much time does that save you?
Exactly.
So I can focus on bigger picture items. I can jump from client to client, problem to problem, solution to solution, regardless of syntactic language now. But now, like if I have a person who's a buddy of mine I'm thinking about right now specifically, he's a Ruby developer, and I'm a JavaScript Java developer, we could still co-collaborate on something if we're using natural language to kind of iterate over those prompts. Sure, there's going to be details that we have to implement.
For sure.
But if I can get half of the way there, I'll figure out the other half.
Yeah. And again, like it lets you stay in that creative space, right? And so I'll get a lot of this stuff done, and then now you can spend time to figure out the details.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm very much of a programming purist, if you want to call it that. Like I'm all about like the algorithms and the protocols, but then I also understand like there's a practicality to it. And I think with that practicality, programming is a tool, right? Like it's not the end goal. And the goal is for us to create things that allow us to be productive. It's a tool to productivity, right?
Yeah.
Like the hammer is not the goal, right? Like the house is the goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the security and the safety that house provides, that is the goal. And so again, if we could build faster houses that are just as secure, just as stable, just have the same rock solid foundation, you know what I mean? But now we can do it a little faster because we got a Copilot, right? We got a co-creator next to us to do it. I think that makes total sense.
Absolutely.
Totally makes total sense. So now, I know you all are a developer company because we talked a lot about AI. I want to talk a little bit more about ThisDot.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of the things that your company is doing for developers that we could definitely push. I know you guys do podcasts. I know you guys do hackathons. You guys are at tons of conferences. Like, what are some of the things that folks could do to get involved with some of the, the other social media things, the community things you guys are involved with?
Yeah, so we got a newsletter. That may be one place that people can get to just to figure out all the things that we're doing. But Danny and I host a podcast called the Modern Web Podcast. You can get it on Spotify, get to it on YouTube, whichever way you consume podcasts. You can find it that way. That's a podcast where we go out and we introduce and interview interesting people in the community that are actually building things. And get a sense of like what they're working on, whether it's AI, whether it's JavaScript, whether it's Android Auto. We've done these before. So,
nice. Okay.
Yeah, so we just try to find people with interesting stories that are working on interesting problems, and we do that as well.
Awesome. I've seen that show, and I'm a big fan. I think y'all used to do the State of RxJS. I used to watch those a lot. I remember State of Angular.
Yeah, we just did our State of React Native that Danny was hosting, and so that was an idea. It's I guess nowadays the ecosystem's a lot different, but
For sure.
I remember the JavaScript wars and the framework wars, and everybody would say, "Oh, that you're doing it the terrible way," and I hate your library. So we used to bring these state of events that brought all these core team members together to talk about the cool things that they're doing and support each other. And I think that at the time was very revolutionary because people saw that these people didn't hate each other, and that all these teams were very collaborative. And I think you see that a lot with big tech companies. There's a lot more collaboration than people think. But yeah, we still do them as a way to kind of help people just understand what's going on because there is a lot to keep on top of on a week-to-week basis.
And you know what I think is interesting about y'all being in that space is now y'all have historical context, which I think is important, right? Like you can kind of look over time and be like, yeah, I remember 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this is what the conversation was. This is how we were building apps. This is how we were collaborating with each other. And then now in this, this version of the modern developer, how is that different? Like what's changed, but what stayed the same, right? And I almost want to say you have the ability to, introspect your own information and kind of predict where things are going a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah. And as far as other resources, we have a phenomenal YouTube channel chock full of podcast interviews, of course, obviously, but we have JS drops, which are basically online workshops that people record with us for free, so we could distribute it to the community.
That's awesome.
Not behind a paywall. A lot of these people are conference level speakers that travel the world, literally doing these workshops. Some of them $2,000, $1,000, recorded completely for free, so that way the community can benefit off of that. We have an amazing blog. Millions of hits over there.
Yeah.
We also have our Leadership Exchange podcast where we interview business leaders from around the world, whether it's in tech, healthcare, etc. And they kind of talk about things that they're doing from a business capacity. So if a business-focused conversation is something you're interested in, that could be a great podcast that you tune into.
Awesome.
We're also in the works of releasing more AI-related content for those that want to learn it. We have several JavaScript workshops that should be coming out real soon. I think we just released a workshop with Shashi Low that was the UX-driven decisions, so studies around that. Tons of real valuable content in that regard. So tons of ways that you can always check that out. Social media, we're all running our mouse on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Skylight Social. Shout out to them. It's a TikTok competitor that we helped build.
Nice.
It hit number 5 in the entire App Store on Apple App Store.
I saw that on TechCrunch. I didn't know y'all built that. That's awesome.
We built that, and it was number 1 in all entertainment. We just built their version of CapCut that's going to be releasing to everybody so they can edit videos on the fly. And it was so successful. It's built on the AT protocol. And Mark Cuban invested in it. So
That's
from Shark
fantastic.
Tank. Maybe I'll get some Shark Tank seats. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Really great work all around with their engineering
That's
teams.
awesome. And those are some really great apps that you mentioned that you guys were working on. So that's phenomenal. So it sounds like if folks are interested in having folks come in and build some apps for them, there's some training, there's workshops.
Yeah.
If folks are interested in having you come and build some Stripe apps for them too, like they can come head over to ThisDot.co.
That's right.
They can reach out to you there. You're on social media, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Twitter, Discord, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like the list is just going to keep going, and you guys are there, and you guys can figure it out.
Absolutely. ThisDot.co/Stripe. If you go there, you can find everything that we're doing in relation to Stripe outside of that.
Yeah.
But my name is Danny Thompson. I'm D Thompson Dev all over social media. I'm easy to find, easy to contact.
Awesome. And then you're on social media as well,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
guessing?
Rob Sal, and I made the mistake of misspelling my name because I thought it was cute back in the day, and I have to limit it now. So I'm at RoboCell with 2 L's on Twitter and elsewhere, so you can find me there. But yeah, I mean, reach out to us if people are interested. Just if you have interesting ways or ideas or thoughts on how you want to get plugged into Stripe and the Stripe ecosystem generally, or you're just not quite sure how to do it, like you talked about those developers that are out there trying to figure out how to figure it out. Yeah, reach out to us. Maybe we can have a chat, see if there's something we can do for each other. If nothing else, maybe inspire you, and then we can keep track of the cool stuff you're building.
That sounds great. That sounds great. Well, thank you, too, for coming on. I really appreciate you. Glad that we could finally be together in person.
Heck yeah.
I feel like it's been a long time. So thank you so much. And thank all of you for watching. This has been another edition of Stripe Developer Office Hours, and we're talking with our friends from ThisDot Labs. Thanks you so much, and we'll see you all soon.